Hypocrisy.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Lawsplaining the Interwebs. I am your host, Nick Rekieta of Rekieta Law, a small law firm in central Minnesota. How we doing tonight, guys? Hopefully you're doing well. As I always state, it's getting tired. Maybe I should wish misery and pain on you instead, since I'm always like, I hope you guys are doing great. You're so cool. You guys are fine. No. I hope you guys are doing terrible and your lives are disaster. And since it's 2023, I know that's probably true. What's going on? It's a Tuesday. I mean, what do you even say to a Tuesday generally? You just say, see you next Tuesday. You cunt. You got to slog through them, right? Everybody says Monday is the worst day. But it's like Monday is the worst day until Tuesday, then until Wednesday, then Thursday, then until Friday around 6. Then it picks up. Then it's cool. But I'm just kidding. Of course. Every day is great and wonderful. And our overlords in Congress have never done us wrong. But we're here to talk about some stuff tonight. We've got a couple different topics. Again, big thank you to the locals for sending in some of these topics tonight. And I love this idea that I definitely had on my own volition and didn't steal it from Jeremy Hambley. And I'll be continuing to do so, asking for topics from local supporters. Because hey, I suppose I should probably talk about what people want talked about. Although I won't get to everything, logically speaking. There's a bunch of submissions and I won't get to all of them, mainly because I babble through a lot of the topics. But we'll Fetterman. We'll get into them here. What I've got on the menu is Donald Trump going to the Palmetto gun store. I think it's Palmetto Arms gun store in Jacksonville, Florida. And looking at a custom Trump 45, hilarious handgun, 45 caliber handgun that's got custom engraving with Donald Trump and 45 on the side and stuff like that, which of course has people losing their fucking minds. If Trump were to buy said handgun, he would be in danger of committing a felony. But, apparently that didn't actually occur. Since that didn't occur, there's now a new attack on the gun store because the gun store sold a gun to someone legally, and that person then shot black people. So Trump went to the gun store to honor the racist gun store, black person, killer, seller, gun machine guys. That's the new hot take. That's the new hotness. So we're going to talk about that. We do have some general Trump stuff going on this morning. We got the Trump gun thing that's kind of funny. And then we get into some more serious stuff, which are the civil fraud case against Donald Trump. Just took a very negative turn for Trump himself and his organization. His New York organizations are ordered to be dissolved by a judge, and other organizations have to be watched over because a judge has determined that Trump frauded, that it frauded all over the frauding. So that's not good. Trump bros, I don't feel so good, right? Like that's actually not a good ruling for Donald Trump. And it potentially puts him in some other issues that we can talk about as a result of this, not automatically, but potentially, which will complicate other cases of his. So I want to bring that up if we, as we get into this and talk about what other, like, aside from the obvious future issues that can have for Trump in these other cases. The other thing we've got is that special counsel Jack Smith is pursuing a gag order on Trump's indictment. They don't want Trump to talk about it. And of course, they don't want Trump to talk about any of this stuff. He happens to have a giant platform and a whole bunch of people who really want to hear what his version of the story is. as every defendant on earth should have the right to do. This isn't a Trump thing. This isn't a president thing. This is about a basic government thing where anyone should be able to speak in their own defense to the extent that they believe it will be useful to them. There is inherent risk publicly commentating on any ongoing legal issue that you face because your words can amount to all sorts of problems, right? If he's like, well, I talked to my lawyers suggested this and this and this is our strategy. Like if you do that, there's a possibility you can break privilege. And once you lose privilege on an issue, attorney-client privilege, that could be really disastrous. You could say something that's an admission of guilt. You could say something that opens up new witnesses or overcomes some, a deficiency with how evidence is collected. There's a lot of risk to it, but there's, in 2023, when you have these massive platforms available to you and you have massive presence on those platforms like Donald Trump does, there's a lot of public benefit, especially if you're running for election in 2024. Your ability to frame the narrative on the accusations of government, first of all, might be critical to what happens after any cases, but second of all, is a fundamental right. You have the fundamental right to disagree with your government's categorization of your activity. And this idea that you can't do that is nonsensical. Like that's a big problem here. So, but we'll get into that as we go. The other, those are the main Trump topics. He's of course trending in the news every single day. And it's always like a question of, do you cover Trump or not? And Howard Stern, as much of a bitch as he is, he actually called out Anderson Cooper on this because, the coverage of Trump has been nonstop. And he's like, we're obsessed with him. It's like, well, I mean, yeah, but he is running for president. He's the Republican frontrunner. All of this stuff looks to be the hurricane of Trump is just building and building and building in the Gulf, and it's going to hit shore next year. So they can't not talk about it. But at the same time, they don't want to, and they do want to. It's that conflict between ratings, actually appropriate coverage of a public interest topic, but also, everything they cover about Trump stands to boost him. It keeps him in the minds of people. And name recognition is one of the most important scores that any politician has, because what your platform is, way less people will know your platform and your position or have even an opinion about you than will know your name. And that name score will go much, much farther. So we'll talk about that as we get into Trump. Then I've got a little interlude. I teased this yesterday. Rep. Gosar, Republican, has an allegedly homophobic rant. And if there's two things I love, it's good old-fashioned homophobia and it's a rant. So we got to go through the allegedly homophobic rant of Rep. Gosar and talk about it. It's allegedly directed at General Milley and other gays in the cabinet or something like that. I don't know. Somebody's bitching somewhere about something, always, right? So we're going to have to hit that homophobic rant. Ever since I saw it, I was like, well, I haven't even read the rant yet. I just can't wait. I can't wait to see how homophobic it is. We'll have to do like a rating, like an Olympic gymnast or whatever, and be like, well, out of 10, how much would you bang this rant? Because that's what they're holding up, right? With the gymnasts. Like the judges are like, she's a 9. I think that's what they do. And then finally, we've got this opinion piece that I talked about yesterday from The Atlantic about insurrectionists. And that's going to get a little bit more into probably like philosophy, thought, I guess, about this concept. They say that the title of the article is basically insurrectionists who believe they're defending the Constitution are still insurrectionists. And this is this weird, well, maybe it's maybe a byproduct or a direct product or direct result of how we are viewing government, our obligations and duties to government, and then, this our ability to speak out against it, which is going by the wayside by the day. So we'll we'll go ahead and hit that. In there, there might be some other stuff. I do have this interesting self-defense case involving Nate Diaz. I don't know if you guys are MMA fans, but Nate Diaz was charged with second-degree battery in New Orleans, and the charges have all been dropped. So I thought we could watch that video at some point, take a look at it, talk about what was going on with that case, because it's interesting. It's a self-defense case that doesn't involve a gun, right? So you should stream snipe Joe. Believe it or not, Bronca is drunk talking about middle-aged women. Oh my God. Do we want to do that for just a minute? I haven't talked to Joe in way too long, so I want to do that. But let's take a peek at what Joe and Bronca are saying for just a minute. We're not going to spend a ton of time on this. Why didn't you cover the business sentencing hearing? I was actually indisposed all day. Sorry. I did not forget it was today. I was reminded last night that it was today, but I didn't know if I'd be able to do it. So I didn't want to definitely say I could or couldn't, but I ended up having a bunch of stuff to do today. So which sucks, but all right, let's take out Good Logic here on YouTube. Where are we? Joe, where are you? Good Logic. Oh my God. Oh no.
Oh, on the dating market. I would say that's a generalized truth. And then women say, but I'm 35 years old and I've been married for 10 years. Well, then you're not on the dating market, you dummy. The whole conversation is about the dating market. People trying to secure a mate. If you're already married, you're off the dating market, and all these things don't apply to you.
Well,
the whole point is,
I think her point is that it seems a little bit unfair that, like, it's not like she didn't. She settled down with the husband. She's been married to him for 25 years.
Then she's locked in, and her husband's locked in. And if she gains,
but she's saying her husband's dying now. She's saying her husband's dying now. So, like,
I'm
lonely.
Sorry.
Can I not?
I'm sorry. That sucks for her. But
I can't send a super chat.
That doesn't change how men in the dating market view the dating market.
So
I'm sorry.
I would differ with. Here's
you women whose husbands are dying when you're 40 or whatever. The guys in the dating market, they don't give a fuck about that.
Oh shit!
That's not their problem. That's your problem, and I feel very bad for you. But the guys in the dating market are looking for young women who are not obese, who can give them children, and are not traumatized by 100 other men.
There we go.
But here's where I would disagree with you, okay? Because I think that you're talking about those who are still in the age bracket where they're looking to have children.
Yeah, of course, right.
But I think that like someone like this situation here, which is married for 25 years, and her husband's, and let's say if her husband dies, so dating as a senior, that's like a whole different thing. Like
I don't care about that because she's not in the market to be a child bearer. Right.
So that's what I'm saying.
So
that's why it's not a matter. He's not saying you're going to be lonely forever.
Anymore.
You can find a mate.
You're going to be lonely forever. Your life is over.
Be happy with each other, keep each other company.
Don't listen.
A healthy relationship.
So my definition of marriage is an institution to raise children. If you're a woman and you've already been married for 25 years, you're not raising more children.
This is not. So he's not talking to you. He's talking about women who have never gone through that process of being a mother. And
I'm sorry, I thought we were looking at this comment here.
Nuance.
Yeah, we are. So what I'm saying is this person here who's saying that
her husband of 25 years. If she's been married for 25 years, she's not having more kids.
I assume. I agree with you. So my point is,
she's just dating. She's not trying to start a family. She's just dating.
Right. She will be dating.
Well, date anyone you want. I don't give a fuck who you date. I'm only concerned about families.
Right. So
she's not having a family.
Right. And that was my point, is that you weren't addressing that type of scenario. You were talking to women of a younger demographic and not the
the apologetics.
I agreed. I concede the point. I'm only actually concerned about women who are in the age range to decide whether or not they will or will not have a family.
What the
because
heck is
those
happening?
are the women who control whether or not society continues.
What is happening with these two?
No, we're gonna get out of this real quick.
What is with you?
Nick, I've told you 100 times, I will fuck you anytime you want.
Right. Well, that's breaking news right here, and one more of these here.
Okay, all right. Anyway, I just wanted to pop in. It's always wild when Bronca starts talking about women. It's a fucking roller coaster. Anyway, you just had to drop. Look, I haven't dropped a super chat on my friend Joe's channel in a long time. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to do that. We're not gonna, I'm not getting into the women and dating swamp tonight. I talked a little bit about it yesterday, and we'll get Better Bachelor on and maybe get through some one of who I consider one of the more reasonable, like red pill manosphere commentators, and have a discussion about that when it's planned. This is just funny because people are like, Bronca's on, Joe. You got to check it out. So, all right. He's single. No, he's been married for 16 years, actually. He's and his wife is absolutely lovely. But that's the interesting thing that people misunderstand about Bronca is he does make general statements about relationships and marriage and stuff like that. He'll mention that marriage is a bad proposition for men, and he has his reasons for that. And they're not entirely untrue. But he also, he is a married man who has extolled the value of finding a great woman who can be a great partner and companion. So he often gets portrayed in this one particular facet, usually his own fault. He gets kind of hung up on the topic. But there's this other side to Bronca, which does actually honor a traditional family unit and stuff like that. And personally recognizes the value of it. But look, this isn't about that, though. It was literally just an opportunity to pop in for a minute and laugh at a couple of my friends having a great discussion that I know at least one of them was wildly uncomfortable with. So, Hugh Jerrickson says, hilarious that conservatives would support the idea of men shouldn't get married, Lamau. I half agree, but okay, so not speaking for anybody else, but from a legal perspective, the argument against marriage from a legal perspective in the US in 2023 is that effectively one side of the statistically traditional marriage, which would be man as the primary earner. This doesn't apply to everybody. Man is the primary income earner who's bringing property, who's bringing capital, to the equation. And then women as either a secondary, usually a distant secondary, or a non-income earner because they're raising children or doing anything. This is not, again, these are not judgment statements. Don't jump on me for this. But just looking at it from that perspective, you have a proposition where a guy is bringing his resources to a marriage. And once no-fault divorce was introduced, a woman who in many scenarios would be less resourced than the man is incentivized in a way to not only not uphold the marriage, but to specifically end it and then acquire a large amount of property that she might not have otherwise had access to through the divorce system in the United States. And that's not a complete argument, to be very clear. It's not a complete legal analysis or a complete argument, but it is also not entirely inaccurate. And that's where a lot of people are coming from on this. They don't speak against the concept of a long-term relationship or monogamy or anything like that. It's literally the government institution of marriage has been set up to really hose men over is their argument. I will argue that it has been getting better over the past several decades, but it is still not a perfect system. So anyway, I'm not going to sit and talk about it was just funny that it came up at all. But if you guys want my opinions on marriage, obviously watch last night's show. I'm overtly and wildly pro-marriage. I think it's great. I think it's worth the risk. I acknowledge the risk. And I think that when you make the right decisions and you find the right person, that it's worth all of that risk, even if it does fail. So Here we go. Let's move past that though. Let's get into this Trump stuff. And after about an hour on the show, we are going to switch to Rumble exclusively like we always do. But I am going to have an announcement in regards to locals. There's a big campaign starting tomorrow, and I would like to blast that out once we get into midnight my time and talk about that and what it means, because you're going to see a little bit about that. There is another. I guess there's another thing we got to talk about real quick that is not listed, but it keeps coming up. So we're gonna play this video. I'm gonna address it here, and we'll talk about my kind of thoughts on this issue. Okay, but it keeps coming up every show, so I do want to address this, but it's not in the listed topics. This is on James O'Keefe, Project Veritas, and importantly, one of my head counsel, Mark Randazza. So let's take a peek at this and see what James has to say. A Joe raid is incoming. Great. Very, very cool. Joe's always been a terrific friend. And I got to talk to him again soon. Here we go. Hello,
everyone. James O'Keefe here. So there was a loud banging on the front door. Loud banging. My colleague happened to be nearby and took a video of the door. You can see there a man. He was pounding on this door. My colleague didn't know.
Pounding on it like my ex-wife.
So I'm going to go ahead and now that I'm back, go to the front door and see what is going on. Here we go. I'm going to open the door. Okay. Oh, look, there's a stack of documents if you just want to get this shot here on the bottom. It looks like there's a stack of documents here. United States District Court, Project Veritas versus James O'Keefe.
Ooh.
Summons in civil action. A lawsuit has been filed against you. So this is apparently a federal lawsuit that they left on the doorstop there of a lawsuit of Project Veritas against me. So I guess Project Veritas has attempted to serve a lawsuit against me on this day, September 21st at approximately I don't know when it was, earlier today, a lawsuit. They're suing me. The company that I founded, when I left, there was something to the effect of between $6 and $8 million cash on hand. They've apparently spent all of it, raising almost no money at all since they ousted me. As my attorney said, Jeff Lichtman said, it'd be great to know what they spent all that money on and what they hope to accomplish by asking a federal judge to shut me and shut all of you down. You must be wondering, what are the names of the lawyers who did this?
Dun. Here it comes.
Who wrote this lawsuit. Their names are J.M. Woolman and...
Funny side story on Jay Woolman. He's an associate of Mark Randazza, and he and I have a little bit of a colored and storied history. To be very clear, Jay Woolman has been working on my case and has been handling it professionally as far as I can tell. But one of the last interactions that I had with Jay, I called him a faggot. That was on Twitter, and it was is very funny to me. But that's how we have made our association. But yes, Jay Woolman is on my legal team as well, representing me. I don't know any of the details of this lawsuit. We're going to look into it really soon, but here we go. Keep going.
Randazza Legal Group. Randazza Legal Group is the name of the lawyer who is participating in this lawsuit. We're not sure what these attorneys have to say for themselves, participating in an effort to silence journalists and get a federal judge to issue an injunction to shut me up and shut all of you down. It's unclear what Mark Randazza and J.M. Woolman are thinking.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing. Now, again, to be clear, I have not talked to Mark Randazza or Jay Woolman or anyone else about this lawsuit. Who lawyers represent is not really subject to who else they represent. They don't call me up and ask me like, well, what do you think about us representing, this company or whatever. I don't know the details of this lawsuit at all, so I'm not going to comment too much on it, other than to say what I've always said. I'm on the side of James O'Keefe. I don't care who's representing him. I don't care what legal team or law firm. I don't care what it is. I'm on the side of James O'Keefe against Project Veritas. I think suing James O'Keefe is gay. I don't know what the impetus would be to sue him. I can't imagine what grounds would be sufficient or whatever to go after him. I think he's one of the most important voices still living in America. I think he's the last vestige of independent journalism. And Project Veritas, you know, they ousted James O'Keefe from his own organization, which was effectively, you know, a Canadian suicide, right? He was the bread, butter, bones, and ball sack of that organization. And if you kick him out, you've got nothing. You have this empty husk of a company with some people trying to do things on occasion, but James is always the driving factor there. So I'm going to do some more digging into it. I don't know that I'll actually be able to ask and more appropriately broadcast the answer to these questions, but I do have questions about this lawsuit conceptually, just because of you know, Mark Randazza's overt profession of following the principles of free speech and standing up for the First Amendment. I have a hard time reconciling the position of Project Veritas going after James O'Keefe being a pro First Amendment position. But I also don't know what the claims are. I don't know if they have anything to do with speech or what on their face. Okay. So people keep asking me though, what do you think about your lawyers suing Project Veritas or whatever? Like lawyers do what they do. I don't have any say in it. But I am kind of troubled and perplexed by it, because my understanding would be that James O'Keefe would likely have the better free speech claim if it's in regards to speech. But I don't know what exactly it is. So we'll be looking into that maybe tomorrow even, as I get time to research the case. It's a federal case, so I should be able to get the documents pretty easy. And then we'll see where we go from there. Okay. But yeah, as currently, nothing's changed in my representation or anything else, but I'm very curious about this. It's very strange, that they would be bringing suit against James. And I'm curious what idea they think they have behind that. But that's that, and we'll get into the story soon, tomorrow, something. Once I've had time to actually research and read the document, or we'll read up on it, you know, on the show too. So, but I know people have been asking about that, so we want to cover that as it comes out. And again, my goal is never to like hide or obscure anything. I just often don't know the details. If I'm not talking about something, it's usually because I just don't know details about it. But let's get into this Trump gun thing, which is where are we? We got a couple. What the fuck is the Trump gun? God damn it. We've got a couple articles about the Trump gun thing. So let me grab the first one, and then I'm going to grab another one. But Trump gun should be perfect. We'll take this very non-biased opinion from oh my God, go away. Fucking hell. Hold on. I hate that you have to disable ad blockers sometimes. They like figured it out. Like, oh well, we just make you disable your ad blocker. Forbes, and this is a very non-biased piece on this topic. So let's get into it here. Trump campaign backtracks after claiming ex-president bought a gun, which could be illegal. That's true. It could be illegal. Former President Donald Trump's campaign backtracked Monday on claims the ex-president bought a firearm during a visit to a gun company in South Carolina, after commentators pointed out that doing so would have violated federal law, given prohibitions on people under felony indictments buying firearms. Now, this is... Look, I'm not lawyering or running cover for Donald Trump here. This is this is a very funny thing to do, but it's a legally completely inadvisable thing to do. I mean, publicly putting forward the idea that you're buying a firearm while under federal felony indictment, it would be a direct violation of law and would carry its own independently prosecutable action, irrespective of whether or not you win the underlying case that you're under indictment for. While you're under that indictment, you do not have the right to buy a gun. It is infringed. Whether or not it should be, I'm not so sure, especially since none of Trump's alleged crimes involve a firearm. I think that that is a bullshit proposition. Like, I can't imagine you're federally indicted for a white collar crime with no violence and no firearm, but you can't have firearms while you're not guilty yet is a bit much for me. It's one of the problems I have with the legal system and how it deals with this stuff. But that being said, it is the law. So legally inadvisable, unless they're trying to create a test case, right? Like, everybody knows Trump's alleged crimes have nothing to do with guns. So maybe they want to go after that prohibition. Just because you're under federal indictment, you're presumed innocent until you're proven guilty. So why would you not be able to exercise your Second Amendment right? He hasn't technically forfeited it because and this is important, right? You can forfeit your rights. Like, you can do actions which forfeit rights. Being convicted of a felony has been said to forfeit your right to vote, your right to purchase and carry a firearm and own a firearm and all that stuff. So sure, you can do it, but you don't voluntarily give up a right from an accusation, though. You usually have to do something unless there's an immediate safety concern. For example, a domestic abuse case. If there's an allegation of domestic abuse, which generates sufficient probable cause to make an arrest, the arrested domestic abuser will be, assuming they're charged, will be prohibited from owning a gun. And the idea would be the trade-off of the safety of the potential victim, the safety of the abused party is paramount at that point. And it actually does cause a temporary suspension of the right from the person who is accused of causing them harm. And if they beat the charges and all that stuff is sussed out, their gun rights are restored rather quickly. But, that's kind of this idea. And we understand, even if you don't agree with them, you can understand the sort of concept behind this idea. Like, well, there could be an immediate safety concern. And if you just have a paper saying that don't kill this person, then you go kill them. Like, okay, that's a problem because they're dead now, right? And there is no remedy at that point. So you can at least, and I don't fully agree with this, but at least you can understand the concept of this immediate safety concern. But Trump isn't accused of any of that. Trump isn't accused of any of that. Tabby's daddy says, you believe that because some guy wrote it on paper? No. I said I don't necessarily agree, but you can see the concept and why the concept occurs, like why that is a concept that the public tends to buy into. I think they buy into it too much in general, but you go, okay, well, we balance this out, this safety concern with a right. And a lot of times the safety concern will win. You have typically an expedited way to contest the allegations. Like, you can move that straight into court and, like, we need to suss this out pretty quickly. But again, it's not that I agree with this at all. It's just that that's one of the things you get. Again, Trump's crimes, all white collar crimes, no allegations of violence or gun violence in any particular way. No allegations that anyone would be in particular danger from Donald Trump having a gun and shooting them. So it's just a really weird thing. And maybe this is a test case. Maybe they would be doing this as a test case to say, hey, this is a stupid prohibition. And this is so public that everybody would have no doubt as to how this prohibition doesn't really make sense. Okay. That's all I'm saying with that, but still legally inadvisable to do so. But there is this weird possibility. I put this out there that Trump, though he's there, isn't buying the gun, but that an entity is buying the gun, an entity that might be owned by Donald Trump or whatever. And that will not allow, it could allow ownership of a gun, right? Especially made for Donald Trump or whatever it is. but not possession. He would still be restricted from possessing that firearm or having direct control over it. But if there's a, if there's an entity that has a management sort of structure to it, they could actually, the entity could purchase the gun, take ownership of it, and just have, a list of people who are allowed to handle it, and none of them could be under federal indictment. So it's not as cut and dry as it is. There's, to be very clear, that's a theory craft on a possible outcome. That's not, I have not seen that being alleged anywhere else, but it's not definitely illegal, but they've walked it back. So the idea is probably that Trump wanted to buy a gun or said something about it, and now they have to run a little bit of defense on that. So Trump spokesman Stephen Chung initially said in a now deleted tweet that Trump purchased a Glock firearm in South Carolina on Monday, sharing a video of the former president looking at a gun at Palmetto State Armory and repeatedly saying, "I want to buy one. I want to buy one. Want to buy it. Would love to buy this. Love to buy a gun. Would love to purchase a gun." Federal law prohibits anyone who's under indictment for a crime punishable by more than 1 year in prison from shipping, transporting, or receiving a firearm or ammunition. Trump has been indicted on dozens of criminal counts this year. It also prohibits selling or giving a firearm to anyone when they know or have reasonable cause to believe that person is under federal felony indictment. Chung later clarified to a CNN reporter that Trump did not actually purchase a gun after the fact that Trump would be violating the law was widely pointed out on social media. Logan Richardson, director of marketing for Palmetto State Armory, told Forbes in an email, "We are honored to have Trump visit the store and speak to our ownership, but there was no purchase made." And so you get into this other aspect of this, which is just the, it's the political puffery, right? The image of Trump being pro-Second Amendment, wanting to buy a gun, being pro-gun. I want to buy this gun so I can actually shoot people in Manhattan. Like he gets to do this and get his little photo up, but maybe it was a little ill thought, right? Like maybe someone didn't consider that maybe they were just trying for that little photo op moment or whatever, and didn't think through the implications, because he's not convicted, but he is indicted. So that seems like maybe a likely outcome, but I don't know. I'm not there. I'm not in their campaign. Cheesy Terrian says, "What right is voting?" I honestly don't remember. There isn't an actual. Okay, so there isn't a fully recognized right to vote automatically, but if a vote is created, you have a right to it. Does that make sense? I honestly don't remember. This more or less important than quartering soldiers in reality or numeration in constitutional amendments if the amendments were ordered of importance. No, the voting is not in the amendments, but again, through the Fifth Amendment and the 14th Amendment, once voting is established as a means of electing a president, for example, then equal rights do apply to it through that. So you don't have an automatic ability to vote. Well, I guess you do for the House of Representatives and the Senate. That's in the Constitution. They are popularly elected, but you don't have an automatic right to vote. But once a vote is created, you have a right to participate in that vote equally to your fellow citizens. Does that make sense? What we don't know is if it will remain illegal for people under felony indictment to receive firearms. The law is one of a number of gun laws that are now being challenged in court in light of Supreme Court's 2022 ruling in New York State Rifle and Pistol Association versus Bruin. And to be clear, the Fifth Circuit has struck down some of these prohibitions. I believe the user of an illegal drug question, I think, has been struck from the form in the Fifth Circuit only. That is not the only ruling that we've had on that. So that needs to go to the Supreme Court for resolution. And, these types of things. Felony indictment is not a conviction. Even if it looks really likely that someone would be convicted, it's not a conviction. And then further, we had that big hubbub while Amy Coney Barrett was being confirmed that she's written an opinion in the past that suggested that non-violent felony convictions should not carry a prohibition on firearm ownership. It's not logically related to the underlying offense, and it doesn't make sense that you just, you hacked a computer, therefore no guns. That doesn't hold true in a logical capacity. So there is a possibility of rolling back some of this stuff and reshaping it, but it's not here yet. Bruin made it much easier to challenge gun regulations by requiring such laws to be consistent with the nation's historical tradition of firearm regulation. Correct. Federal courts are split on the law barring people under felony indictment from acquiring firearms in light of Bruin, though the provision still hasn't been formally struck down, meaning it's possible that even if Trump had purchased a firearm, a federal court could decide to drop any charges against him over it. Correct. It could. Trump has been federally indicted twice on a combined 44 felony counts stemming from from 2 investigations into his handling of classified White House documents and his efforts to overturn the 2020 election. All of those counts carry potential prison sentences of more than a year if he's convicted, with the former president facing a maximum prison sentence of 505 years if he were convicted on all the federal charges against him and given the maximum sentence, which is unlikely. Well, of course, that's unlikely. That means it might happen, right? But again, this main thing here. So first of all, handling of the classified documents, there's several issues with this. And one of them is, does he have presidential immunity from this? Because it's, these are acts done as president. But second, did he effectively declassify the documents by removing them to Mar-a-Lago? And the answer is, we don't know. Maybe. Can the president do that? I think so. Did he do that? I don't know. Does he have to make an affirmative action, a declaration that they're declassified? I don't know. No one does. No one knows this. There's a law around it, but there's a question of whether or not the president can be bound by such a law. Can Congress put a restriction on how the president classifies and declassifies documents, which are matters of national security, which would be handled by the executive? I don't know that they can. It's just never been challenged before. Good old one says a president cannot mishandle classified documents. Rackets is fucking stupid on this one. I literally just was saying that. Why you do this to me? I've had this position the whole time. It's an unanswered constitutional question, which I believe resolves in favor of the president, but it's still unanswered. Like it's still ambiguous at this point. We haven't had this issue before the court. They'll have to resolve that. Why do I get ridiculed for having the opinion that you have? You gay. Why are you gay? Brian Alleman says, live rackets while I drink my morning coffee. This Romania assignment isn't so bad, even if I have to be on the lookout for that weirdo V. There you go. There you go. Cheers to you, Brian Alleman, drinking your morning coffee. Maybe I'll have a little nip of whiskey to go with it. That's nighttime coffee is whiskey. But yeah, man, as I was pointing out before I was so rudely interrupted by someone who agrees with me, there's a big question of whether or not the felony indictments for mishandling classified documents even apply to a president, much less this president. So we'll have to see on that. But then the other ones, the overturning of the election, again, I didn't see any evidence that Donald Trump in any way attempted to actually overturn the election. He investigated, he asked questions, he expressed his dissatisfaction, he expressed his belief in some level of fraud and stuff like that. He made phone calls where he requested access to voting information so that they could verify some of the alleged statistics that they had to, again, raise challenges. All of those things were done prior to the inauguration of Joe Biden, and all of them ceased immediately at the inauguration of Joe Biden. That period of time between when the votes are cast on November 2nd until the inauguration of the president, presumably on January 21st or later if it gets delayed, that is your window of time to question and challenge the election. And you should be able to question and challenge the election without being charged with a criminal act, unless there's an overt criminal act involved in it. And I haven't seen anything to suggest that there was a criminal act in any way involved in this. But, that's just like my opinion, man. But there's another question of, are these official acts of the president? Is he covered by presidential immunity? Presidential immunity has not been resolved in criminal cases at this point. So we have to find out. We have to see what presumably what the Supreme Court says. Fagan's Law says, why must politics be so terrible? Don't forget to have me on. It's terrible because it matters. Ultimately, that's why politics is terrible. It matters. It matters desperately. We might overstate how much it matters, but that only understates that it definitely does matter. And that being said, it will always be nasty when it matters. You know, the president matters. Congress matter. Who they are, what they do, what they can do. That all matters. It's what we have to live under. Okay, so here we go. He has also been separately indicted on some state charges in Manhattan and Fulton County, Georgia. Pleaded not guilty to all the charges against him, denied any wrongdoing, decrying the investigations against him as politically motivated witch hunts. Terrible, terrible witch hunts. Okay, so this is the basic story on the Trump gun thing, right? Like he goes to Palmetto Armory and goes to buy a gun or to pretend to buy a gun. It's his custom gun job. It's 45 caliber. Trump was 45th president. Very funny, cute little gun thing. And now it's quote unquote backfired, but it hasn't actually backfired. They would have to prove that he made a purchase. They would similarly have to prove that he was not eligible to make that purchase. And they would also need to prove that it wasn't some other entity making the purchase. I mean, the Trump campaign, in theory, could make a purchase of that firearm. Someone said that looks like a straw purchase. Well, only if they give to Trump, but if it's a political stunt, if it's PR, good press for the campaign, the Trump campaign, in theory, is an entity that can own a firearm. So what's the issue there? Can Trump possess it? Maybe. Actually, you might not be prohibited from possession, but he can't receive it as a transfer. So that would be a different question there. But if Trump goes and the Trump campaign buys that gun and he doesn't like carry it around his vagina or whatever, like, it's fine. It's weird that entities can own firearms, but they can. I used to establish them for people. So yeah, can you be gifted a pew pew? Yes, most people can, unless again you've lost the right to receive a firearm for whatever reason. But most people who are not felons or who are not currently indicted or under a restraining order, yeah, can be gifted a gun. You can gift guns to people. So yeah, that's that. But this is just a short story. It's kind of funny. But it does raise interesting legal questions about these prohibitions, which are under the acts under Bruin. And this is in Florida. Like, Florida's in a good circuit, relatively conservative. There's a good chance that this case, even if it were brought, like if they would bring a purchase case against Donald Trump, that they would be able to get that provision struck down. I think that's pretty cool. But then this, as that narrative faded, a new narrative came up, which I want to get to here about this thing. Is not that it's no longer about the legality of buying the gun, right? It's about this next thing, that Trump is a racist, because he obviously is. I hope you guys understand Trump is a racist. The sick racist message behind why Trump chose that particular gun store. And guys, I don't know what's happening, but I have this news app. It's called Smart News, which means it's fucking retarded. But this Smart News app, it just delivers me commie websites all day. And it's probably because I click on them because they're useful to make fun of these commies. But this is from the New Republic. And it's all fucking commie shit all day. Oh. You know when you have that yawn that you like won't go away? That was that. That was great. Still yawning. I'm not even tired. I'm amped up. Anyway, so here we go. Here we have the New Republic on the next trajectory, right? Because if one of the things doesn't work, you got to go to the next thing. And this is that Donald Trump tried to purchase a gun at Palmetto State Armory in South Carolina. That matters more than you'd think, right? Because this is definitely what they were signaling. During a campaign trip to South Carolina, Donald Trump took some time to visit the gun store that sold weapons to the racist Jacksonville, Florida mass shooter. Oh, yeah. Oh, for anybody curious about like yawning, me yawning and shit like that being weird, I have narcolepsy. Yawning has never, ever been weird to me. Trump visited Palmetto State Armory on Monday, where he admired a handgun engraved and decorated in his honor. I mean, this is probably why he went there, to be honest. Like, obviously, they invited him. Like, look, we got this cool handgun. Come on out and see it. He's like, no, actually, I'm going to come out because of that guy who shot the blacks. I like that guy. He's an interesting guy, innovative, tried a new thing, shooting blacks. This is such a fucking ludicrous concept. They're like, well, they went there because of the racism. It's like they fucking decorated a gun and invited him out. He repeatedly said he wanted to buy the gun there, which would be a violation of federal law, given his many indictments. And again, I will say, mild edit, New Republic, which may be a violation of federal law, given his many indictments. A lot of media is focused on whether Trump actually purchased a gun and violated the law, but less attention has been paid to Trump's decision to visit Palmetto State Armory, as opposed to any other gun store in South Carolina. In late August, a white man opened fire in a Dollar General store in a predominantly black Jacksonville neighborhood, killing 3 people, all of whom were black. The shooter, who then killed himself, used a Glock handgun and AR-15 semi-automatic rifle, at least one of which was painted with a swastika. Jacksonville Sheriff T.K. Waters said the shooter hated black people and acted alone. At least one of the guns, which one, came from Palmetto State Armory, a store in Summerville, South Carolina. Jacksonville Sheriff's Office shared photos of the firearms used in the attacks on its Facebook page. One of the guns is clearly engraved with the Palmetto State Armory logo. The shooter had also drawn swastikas on the gun. Okay, here's the deal. Sal, the allegation here is that Donald Trump's campaign was like, you know what? We're going to make a stop. We have any gun store in America to stop at. Let's go to the one that shot the black people, because that's what we're going to portray. Like, we want the dog whistle. And the dog will bark at them because they're black. When the Jacksonville shooting happened, Trump did not issue any statement on the tragedy. But you could argue that this campaign stop is a kind of tacit statement. Yes, you could argue. Oh, God, these communists are so fucking dumb. You could argue that this is a statement where Donald Trump's campaign is actually saying we endorse the killing of black people. They believe this shit, guys. They literally believe this. They believe, like, look, even if you think Trump is a racist who likes the shooting of black people, there's no way on fucking earth you could possibly think that a campaign for president would put a dog whistle motive to be like, we endorse the shooting of blacks in Florida. Like, that is so fucking insane. From the front running candidate, that's what they're going to do. Like, it could be argued that not very well, not convincingly, not to anybody. Even if they were the most racist people on earth, they wouldn't do that openly. It's so fucking stupid. He put the spotlight on Palmetto State Armory, praised its inventory, and tried to offer it business. Yeah. But show of hands, did any of you guys know that this random shooter bought a gun from there? I had no fucking idea. Who remembers this shit? It's like, well, the racists do. They're like, oh God. He used gun from Palmetto State Armory. It was very effective. I'm going to go buy one for the next time I want to shoot black people. Like, Jesus Christ. The mindset that these people have is so insane. It's literally insane. There's no way around it. There's no explaining it away. Like, I can explain away a lot of arguments. Look, I can lawyer my way out of some wild shit, but this one is just fucking delusional. Palmetto State Armory has openly embraced far-right ideology. In 2020, it began marketing its products using imagery and language associated with the Boogaloo, slang for racist violence. No. Whatever your thoughts on the boogaloo. I don't think racist violence is is what should come to mind there. The boogaloo is not, like you guys call it, racist. But the boogaloo is not about racist violence. Are you fucking insane? God. This is the shit we deal with. This is the shit we have to deal with every day. And even a call for full-on race war. Is that boogaloo, or did the Palmetto State Armory call for a race war? That's funny. It's also come to mean war to topple the government. Oh, has it also come to mean war about toppling the government? No, that's what it actually means. Is the boogaloo is when people get so fed up with their government that they revolt against it. I don't know if you know this, but it happened in 76, I think it was. Jesus Christ. But that's what it's about. And it's not about toppling the government, by the way. This is, again, these misnomers and these mislabelings. And this is why when you talk to people out in the wild that you don't like know or whatever, and you get into these subjects and you find out that everybody's fucking retarded, that they're all literally stupid walking around because they've been spoon-fed this shit. It's not about toppling the government. It's about protecting and preserving our rights and our autonomy against tyranny. That's what the boogaloo is. The boogaloo is when the government becomes unsustainably corrupt and the people have to defend themselves from it. That's the boog. The boogaloo boys are prepping for the idea that government will come for them to put them away. And the only reason they believe that is just all of history. Just all of it. Only everywhere, in every society, eventually, has this happen. Only all of it. All of them, each time and every time, which is why the government should fear the people. But we're not going to get into that banger of a song that Akira the Don did for me. But it's the idea that they're coming. They're coming for us. They're coming for our rights, and they're coming for our freedom. And we have a duty to this nation to not tolerate or stand for it. We have a Second Amendment for this purpose. We have the right to petition our government for redress for this purpose. We have prohibitions on what the government can do if they can deploy an army on the United States soil for these purposes. That's why it exists. The boogaloo is saying they will forego all of their duties of care to us, and therefore the only justifiable action is resistance. Because to not act in the face of tyranny is to embrace, endorse, and accept tyranny for your lifetime, your child's lifetime. They're, probably 7-8 generations down. You're not getting it back while you're alive. Doom 518 says, I've had a few bad months since losing my grandmother and want to make a toast. I'm luckier than most. Had my wife and daughter still, and had my grandmother for 30 years. Fuck dementia. Doom 518. Let me join you on that, brother. Dementia took three of my grandparents, and fuck dementia right in its fucking ears, eyes, nose, mouth, whatever it is. Fuck it for taking the people we love, but more importantly, for taking the people that they love from them, for taking their minds away, their memories away, their communication away, and their perception of reality and their loved ones away. Cheers to us who maintain our faculties, who maintain our families, and a toast to those who are delivered from that loss. Peace, brother. All right. Not too much of this story left, but we'll get this. The Jacksonville shooter shouldn't have been able to buy guns in the first place. He was held in Florida state custody in 2017 for mental health issues, disqualifying him from owning a gun under a statute called the Baker Act. This is a red flag law, and also this is not true or accurate. I shouldn't say it's not true. This is potentially, possibly true, but doesn't seem to actually be true. It's a truism. Someone who is Baker acted might not be able to buy a gun. Might not. It really depends on the circumstances of the Baker Act, how it turns out, what their evaluations turn out, if they become committed, civilly committed after that, all of that shit. This is a blanket statement that is not verifiable. It is not legally sound. And this is the danger, though. Like, look, I get it, right? Racist guy gets guns, uses guns to murder black people because he's racist. Okay, I'm with you. I don't like this guy at all. But they're like, see, he shouldn't have been able to have guns because he was Baker Acted. Baker Act just means someone sufficient for the statute criticized his mental health. It needed to be reviewed at the time. They let him out. They let him out. You get a temporary detention. You can't have guns at the time. They tend to confiscate any guns that you have, but then they evaluate you. And I get that the guy would go on to be a horrific race murderer, but he wasn't at the time. And we don't get to prosecute crimes in retrospect. And it's very uncomfortable for people. They're like, well, you would let a racist guy buy a gun and shoot black people? Well, I mean, I don't want him to. Let him. What right do I have to stop them from buying the gun? We have a law against them shooting black people or any people. So, but what right do I have to stop them from shooting a gun? Up until this point, he's a law-abiding citizen. No one, quote unquote, saw this coming. They never do, right? So I'm sorry that he turned out to be bad, but we prosecute crime. We don't prosecute thought crime, pre-crime, alleged crime. And we don't retroactively go and say, well, we could have known. They had every opportunity to know. He got red flagged. He just, they couldn't sustain it. So many eyeballs on Trump, Palmetto State Armory would never have gotten away with selling him a gun. But as Philadelphia Inquirer columnist Will Bunch of dicks in his mouth, pointed out, the store, quote, could sell an AR-15 to a young, mentally troubled white supremacist. Except, yes, they could do that. The thing is, though, they would have no reason or duty to know. Imagine. You don't even have to imagine. Imagine the fucking kvetching these people would have if a store said, they want Palmetto to say, wow, you're a white supremacist, I won't sell you a gun. What if a store said, you're a black supremacist, I won't sell you a gun or anything? What if a store said, you're gay, you like gay stuff, so I won't sell you anything? They would lose their fucking minds over the prospect that, one, a store would discriminate in that way, and two, that the store would even have an interest at all. And yet their inconsistency means they want this applied to Palmetto State Armory, right? Like, Palmetto State Armory doesn't have any duty to this guy. They run the background check comes clean. They can sell a gun or not. It's up to them. That's it. It's this whole thing. Whole way the process works. If the background check should have been updated appropriately and wasn't, that's not on them. They did their due diligence. But these people are always exposed by the converse. If someone had a different, like a socialist ideology, and a gun company said, yeah, we checked out your Twitter, we don't fucking like your ideology, we're not going to sell to you, they would make articles blasting about like how they're discriminating against the only good and true system of governance on the planet or whatever. It's fucking ridiculous, of course. But you guys know that, right? Like, this isn't surprising. Communists are inconsistent, but most importantly, communists are fucking dumb. That's the ultimate outcome from it. They don't care about the inconsistency because they're stupid, and they know that other communists are stupid with them, willingly stupid, willingly engaging in that stupidity to follow along with a failed and broken ideology. So that is that. We're an hour in. I am going to jump over to Jack Smith's gag order in just a second. But first, we're past midnight my time, and that is why we've got to talk about this. We've got a little promotion going on from locals. This is not from me, by the way. This is not from me. it's actually from locals. Locals asked me if I would like to participate, and I said, yes, 100%. I would love to do that. But I've got a special link for a special link for locals here with promo. I'm checking to see how this works. Just a second. Yeah. Is it not ready yet? Is it not live yet? I don't know. Live. I'm not gonna share it just yet. Watch, because I don't think it's actually fully live yet. So watch my Twitter, watch my locals tomorrow, and I'll talk about it tomorrow night. It is not a one-day thing, but it starts tomorrow. Locals is offering a free month to people to join locals communities, fighting back. It's supporting free speech, canceling big tech censorship. Look, we're tired of people getting censored off of our, these main platforms. YouTube. Hey, YouTube, fuck you guys. As you guys may remember, I was summarily removed for 3 days from YouTube last year. My entire channel deleted. One of the most harrowing experiences in recent memory, because like everything I built is gone. Everything I built is fucking gone. People get deplatformed from Patreon or Twitch or Kick or whatever it is all the time. They get kicked off of even X, right? My boy Camelot, his Twitter account is gone because he said a joke. He said a joke. Locals and Rumble have been strong proponents of free speech. Locals in particular, they've always supported me. Even as I was sitting with the CEO, I was sitting with the CEO of Locals, who is he's a Jewish man. And we pull up my Locals community chat, and it was just a bunch of Nazi memes. Like, it's a joke. They're joke Nazi memes, like a cat with a smile. Anyway, and he's like, he looks at me, he's like, Nick, help me out here. And I said, hey, buddy, free speech means free jokes. And he goes, I know. And they did nothing about it. That's the difference, by the way. That's the power of Locals. That's the power of freedom. Is, God, you could see him. He's like, and I'm like, dude, they're jokes. I'm like, these are not like actual, and they were clearly like in context, they're jokes. I'm like, these are not actual Nazi sentiments. These are jokes. And he's like, I know, but he's like, you could see him struggling with it. His mind. I mean, this matters to him. And that's why it's important that he didn't fucking do anything at all. K2's World says, great fans there, Nick. I'll take fans who joke about Nazi stuff over actual Nazis all day, of course. Like, comedy is still real. We can joke about everything. It's fine. But again, he saw the memes, he saw the jokes, and he goes, I wish that wasn't said, but so what? Like, what are we going to do? Stop people from talking, having jokes, having opinions, having ideas? They don't do that. So watch for my tweet tomorrow, my Locals post tomorrow. There'll be a promo code for, I believe, a free month of Locals. You can come. I talk about my Locals all the time. You can come check it out for free. No risk involved at all. Get a month of it. Shit talk me in my chat or whatever you want to do. Check out the live shows. Any of the exclusive content I've done is available. It's all available if you join. And this is a great opportunity to check it out. My favorite thing about my Locals is you get to make it whatever you want it to be. My chat is what I consider the Wild West of the internet, the old AOL chat room days, except you can post pictures and GIFs and stuff like that in there. I don't censor it. The only thing I do is make sure it's within the terms of service for Locals, which is no vaginas, no penises, no buttholes. I prefer no nipples. That's not an official rule. I prefer no nipples be posted in there, and no actual threats of violence. Everything else goes. All opinions, all jokes, all memes, everything else is allowed. And you can get in there and mix it up with people. You can get in there and have a great time. hanging out with people. It's the most fun thing, and it's the chat room that you make it. There's no dictator telling you what you can and can't say. So go check it out. But watch for it tomorrow. That campaign goes live then. I was hoping to do it. I was hoping to be one of the first, like surreptitiously get it in, but it looks like it's not live yet, probably because California exists and California sucks. So, but with that, what we're going to do is we're going to read the YouTube super chats, and then we're going to move over to Rumble exclusively. We'll get the last bit of the Trump story, which is this gag order, and then we're going to go into Gosar's homophobic rant and insurrectionists. All right. And maybe we'll watch Nate Diaz choke a guy out in there as well. Sylvia's daughter says, good wishes to the Ricada family. Hey, thank you. Jesus Davila has a clinking sticker. Thank you. Matthew Self says, if Trump is just endorsing the 45, that should be okay. Just like if they made an F-45 Raptor and he took a picture with it to endorse something super cool and American. Yeah, of course he could do that. But he could be in legal danger if he bought the 45. It just seems like that might have been something they hadn't really considered when they did the messaging. I'm not going to ascribe incompetence or motive to it. I think maybe they just didn't think about it at all because he's asserting his non-guilt. He hasn't been convicted yet. Patrick O'Brien says, you say, why would a president campaign endorse this? Like Canada didn't just literally give an actual Nazi a standing ovation in their parliament. True, but they weren't a campaign. They're an existing government, and they're doing the retarded thing that government does, which is where they just parrot whatever they're supposed to do. Hooplehead says the people who write this stuff don't believe it. They're convincing a portion of the population, maybe. And the Meep Kid says Carl makes hate color people. So TNR News also hate colored people. Oh, Karl Marx hated colored people. So New Republic also hates color. Yes. Yeah, and don't ever make any mistake. Communists hate black people. They fucking hate them. Which is why destroying the black family was such an integral part of all communist ideology. Cheesetarian says, what kind of friend only gives his friend a $50 for a super chat during his live stream? No wonder he hasn't talked to you in months. A shitty friend. Always been bad. All right, guys, that's YouTube. We're going to pop over to Rumble. Rumble exclusively. Come join us over there. The link is in the description. It's also in the chat, the pinned chat on YouTube. I'm going to play the little transition music. We're going to get to Rumble, and then I actually do need to step away. I have to pee. Ever since I started drinking these fucking Monster Energy drinks, I have to pee like crazy. So we're going to do that, and then I'll be back in just a moment after that. But we'll have the Peeing Wasted Lawyer song going, and we'll see you guys in a second. Thanks for hanging out. As always, if you don't come over to Rumble and you love YouTube, you got to start reconsidering where you're watching your content, man. They don't want you to see stuff, and it's getting really frustratingly obvious, and it's going to get worse going into 2024. Cheers to you guys. See you soon. Peace. Peace.
For the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world, ladies and gentlemen,